Is wholesaling real estate dead in 2025? Is wholesaling real estate worth it in 2025? The short answer is no, it's not dead in 2025. Is it worth it? Yes, it is still worth it in 2025. Here's why. Here's why no, it's not dead. Well, obviously, this game that we play as wholesalers is a decades, centuries long game. Middleman, someone, a market maker, someone needing to buy, someone needing to sell, and someone in the middle coming in and saying, I can be the person that connects the two. The middleman is something that has been with us forever, and it probably will not change. So whether that be with houses, whether that be on exchanges like the New York Stock Exchange, someone wanting to sell stocks, someone wanting to buy stocks, whatever the case may be, a middleman will always be there. You have real estate agents as well as the middleman. But with this industry, it is getting more complex. So no, it's not dead, but yes, it is getting more complex in terms of the knowledge that you need to have, the edge that you need to have in order to stand out in the industry. Right now, I got in the game when it was about 28. When I was about in about 2018. I've been wholesaling real estate for about 6 or 7 years now, off and on. I will say off and on. Right now, I work with a company and I'm a wholesaler. Obviously, I'm on the acquisition side, so the game is more complex because it has grown in popularity because of courses, because of online gurus that say you could just hop into this game it's the quickest way to get into real estate without money, without having any type of money. This is why it's not dead, but it is more complex because you do need some level of finances set in place to actually compete in this game. I hate using the word competition. I like using more of the word stand out. You do need more finances to stand out because, you could do door knocking for free. You could do cold calling, maybe some sort of list that you find for free or whatever the case may be. But those methods are they're extremely hard these days because you're going to be up against those people who are able to send out direct mailers, who are able to use different types of software, who are able to be good at SEO, which is honestly my favorite form of marketing for wholesaling. As a wholesaler, you're going to need to, when I say it's more complex, it's not as easy as it once was as being able to just go and door knock and randomly find someone who needs to sell their house fast. People have gotten more privy to the industry in terms of like sellers. They know about what we do as wholesalers. They understand how the game kind of works. Not everybody does, but a lot of people are getting more acclimated to it. And so it's not as easy as being able to hide behind certain tactics and certain gimmicks that used to work a while back. Now, from the marketing standpoint, you're going to need a good amount of marketing to actually see a return on your profit, see a return on your ad spend. I love PPC and Google, but that costs a lot of money. If you have the time with SEO, that's an upfront cost, but it's an upfront cost of time, but also knowledge. You're gonna need to take the time to have the technical acumen. Or you could pay somebody, do a pay per lead, that sort of thing. But those leads are expensive, and sometimes they can be a little bit also ran down by other companies who are buying the same leads. So the complex piece of it is getting really good at marketing and being able to stand out amongst the competition because everybody is trying to buy low at 70% of a discount. Because guess what's going to happen? Once you give the 70% discount, they're going to go out and shop around and say, well, there's 6 other different companies if I type in need to sell my house fast. What will make you stand out as the best person for that company to that person, the seller, to be comfortable selling their house to? So from that perspective, you have to do some searching in terms of What will make me stand out? Can I solve this person's problem? Am I more focused on their problem versus just buying their house at a steep discount? Do I have access to buyers that are interested in this small little niche pocket that I can find? That's an advantage in itself. Having a list of buyers that are interested in like a certain type of pocket and knowing the market enough. Do I have enough knowledge about the market? Do I understand the market? If you're virtual, it's kind of hard to get a full scope of every market because some people, it was super popular and it's still super popular. I do virtual right now. I pretty much, with the company that I'm with, I buy in almost every state. I mainly, as of late, I've been mainly trying to focus on Cincinnati and just really understanding their market because I think it's a huge up and coming rental market for sure. Rental market. But having that knowledge of the area and knowing different pockets and knowing different streets, street by street, having buyers on hand ready to purchase in certain pockets is going to be super important. And with that being said, what is out of those things, or what, when you sit down and take note of the things that you want to make sure you stand out for, what can you do? What can you do to give yourself an advantage over? Because here's the thing that you need to understand about the real estate market is that it's not the huge companies that you're going to be up against. You're not going to be up against big boys. You're going to be up against other small time wholesalers that may have a team of 2 or 3. There may be some that have a team of 6 or 10 or 15 acquisition specialists, but a lot of times they're so well established and so well capitalized that they don't need to do certain deals that maybe they may pass over or may just be like, okay, whatever, I don't want that deal. So with that being said, it's really you're going to be up against or having to stand out against people that are like yourself, mom and pop. Maybe by yourself, maybe just getting started. Also, people that may have a team, like I said, of 2 or 3. Our team, we're pretty much back with financing from private equity companies. So we have a team of, our team is constantly growing. I'm one of the recent hires, and it's a lot of us. It's a lot of us on the acquisition side. So, rarely will you run up against a company that is like that. There's always gonna be bigger companies, but with that being said, you're going to need to be able to show that you are someone reputable to work with, show that you're someone that is more than just want to buy their houses cheap, a person's house cheap. That's where the complexity piece comes into it. Is it worth it? Yes, but it's still worth it because it is a great way to get started if you have some sort of hustle in you. This is more of like the hustle game, the grind game. You got to grind to really see that the return on what you're putting into it. Now, when I think about ad spend, if you are privy to PPC, that's awesome. You could definitely do it. SEO, you could definitely do it. That's like S tier marketing to me. Mailers work as well. The company that I work with, they use mailers. I'm not a huge fan of mailers just because sometimes you could get a lot of tire kickers. But those, and then, there's a lot of money that goes into mailers. So I'm more of the so good they can't ignore you type of person, or an inbound guy. I know a lot of times people would think that that's kind of lazy or whatever, but in my opinion, you want people searching for you. And when they get there, can they see that you are so genuine about your process? Because a lot of times as wholesalers, we hide behind certain lenses. And then it makes the seller skeptical. So being as upfront as you possibly can is going to make a huge difference to a lot of people, because they'll sense that and they'll know that at least this person is trying to be 100% true, because they're making huge purchases. I mean, they're making huge decisions. This is not just, going to buy a pack of gum or buying a pack of gum from you off the corner for 50 cents. This is literally one of their hugest purchases in their lives, and they're trusting you to actually make a transaction so that they can get it sold for whatever the case may be. Now, finding those motivated sellers right now, is it worth from a standpoint of, is wholesaling still worth it in 2025? Is increasingly hard because of interest rates. I know those are in the boogeyman inflation. I know everybody's been talking about them and nobody wants to continue to hear about them. But at the same time, it's a real thing. A lot of sellers are not as quick to sell right now. Mortgage rates are pretty high. Where are they going to go? Nobody wants to go from a 2% mortgage rate to a 6.75% mortgage rate. It's kind of crazy to do that, but there are still people out there that need to sell their house now. They need to sell their house fast. And your job is to hunt and go and find those people, because you're going to have your best deals come from the people that actually need to sell. That is the name of this business, which, again, going back to that, is it still worth it? Yes, it's still worth it, but it's harder on that front of finding finding people that actually really, really need to sell, because everybody's looking for that person that really, really needs to sell. And a lot of sellers nowadays, they know what they have and they've been seeing the prices of homes go up. What I do believe, though, is if you are in the game right now, this is going to be the best time to be in wholesaling. One of the best times, because we're going to start seeing corrections. We're going to start seeing corrections in the market in terms of sellers understanding that their houses are not just, to put it plain and simple, they're just not as worth as much as they have made it to be, as they have made it to inflated the prices because, whatever the case may be, influxes of people from more expensive states coming into poorer states or less expensive states and driving up the housing prices. These things are, that madness or that mania is starting to cool down a little bit. And we'll see what the Fed does with interest rates in terms of lowering them. A lot of people are still waiting to see if they can get even lower interest rates, but I do not think that we're going to go back to, I always say this, go back to like these smaller, short, 2 to 3%, 4% interest rate. We may get as low as 4%, but I think we're going to hover around that 5% interest rate. I mean, when have we ever actually gone back from an inflation standpoint? When have we ever actually gone backwards? When have movie ticket prices back in the 30s or whatever the case may be were 25 cents? When is that ever like, oh, we're going to revert back to 25-cent movie tickets? It just doesn't happen, really. If you look at history in terms of how inflation has impacted history, it may have leveled out to the point where things have, when they get expensive, they level out to where the economy can pump enough money and the economy can pump enough jobs to where people are able to sustain the living, but they don't go backwards to the point where it's like, oh, we were at 2%. I mean, we were at 2%. Now we're at 6%. Now let's just go back to like 1% or, 2%. Let's go back to 2%. It just doesn't happen. So what happens is people adjust and, peripherally wages will go up and things like that, and people will be able to afford these things. But, with that being said, sellers are going to become more desperate. They're going to prices in a lot of states right now are dropping. They're declining. I'm living in Austin, and Austin is one of those states is on a decline in housing prices. It's because you cannot sell a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom, 900 square feet home. I don't care where, you're in East Austin or like a part that's up and coming. You want to sell that, it's going to need so much work. It's crazy how you want to sell that for 600, 700,000. It's like, that's not sustainable no matter where you are. It just doesn't work that way. And so you're going to see sellers who may panic, who may be on these on fire situations. They need to sell at discounts. And, if you are thinking about getting into this game and you're thinking about, is it worth it? Is it worth my time to actually get in this game? I definitely still think that it is worth it. But you're going to have to count the cost of what you're willing to do from a marketing standpoint to really make yourself stand out, because everybody's going to have the websites that say need to sell your house fast, and like the whole structure, the whole carrot structure. If you haven't heard of InvestorCarrot, check out InvestorCarrot. InvestorCarrot, like that whole structure, everybody's going to have those websites up. Everybody's gonna have the, try to dominate on PPC and SEO, and everybody's gonna have the bandit signs out. Even though I see less bandit signs these days, I just saw one yesterday. I'm actually gonna call it. You see less bandit signs these days, but everybody's gonna be doing those sort of marketing tactics. So you're gonna have to see where you can actually find a way. You can outspend people. You can definitely outspend everybody if you have that. But if you don't have that type of financial structure, put it that way, you're gonna have to find a way to maybe partner with someone who's in real estate. I don't want to throw out generic ideas just because it's like, everybody's at different levels of their. If you're literally starting from zero with nothing, you have no money in your pocket, I would definitely probably just say, hey, either get a job or maybe just find something you can do that can fund at least $1,000 worth of marketing, at least $500 worth of marketing, just to at least generate something. You know what I mean? Get some activity going. The name of this game is literally activity. I make about $60 a day doing what I do. And it's one of those things. I make probably about $60 a day doing what I do but I have abundant amount of leads. The company spends a ton of money on leads every day. So I can just go in and look at, what from a certain class or a certain city that fell off or maybe falling through the cracks. And I could just pick that up and just call in and say, hey, I know you were speaking to us before. Would you like to revisit the conversation? Everybody doesn't have that opportunity. If you are going the solo route, potentially starting with door knocking, it's rough. It's definitely rough. Or maybe if you can afford like a small little subscription to something like PropStream or foreclosure.com and see if what houses right now are being foreclosed on. And it's not to be predatory, but more so to be like, hey, can I ride up to this house, knock on the door and check and see if that person would like to sell. There's tons of tutorials on YouTube about what to say, how to say. There's tons of scripts online that you can check out. But I'm almost 17 minutes. So I don't want to make this super long, but I just wanted to hop on and give that insight of like, hey, I know a lot of people have jumped into the industry over the past years. When I started, it was 2018. I think that was like the boom when everybody was kind of doing it. Everybody was, I know it's an older game, but I think 28 for me at least, I guess because that was just when I started. 2018 was when everybody was, just the boom of everybody jumping into it. Now it's a lot more mature as an industry, and then you have certain laws that are being passed to try to outlaw it in certain states if you don't have a license. So there's a lot of things that when you see regulations and things like that coming about in that way, you always get it's a sign of maturity of an industry. I remember the Dodd-Frank Act. I don't remember it as like me being in the industry when it happened, because I was like 14. I was a kid around that 2008, 2000 odd time. But the Dodd-Frank Act, it stopped people from help with foreclosures and things like that. Now you have where in certain states you have to have a license in order to wholesale real estate. I believe South Carolina, Illinois, a lot of these states that are trying to outlaw it. And it's mainly like the people in the realtors. The realtors are like, hey, you're kind of stepping on our toes. You're not giving us, you're kind of taking away from our money. So there's going to be a lot of regulations and things like that happen, but market makers will never go away. People who are in the middle saying, I want to step up and connect the dots, that'll never stop. So you could definitely be in that category. That's the name of our game. But if you're thinking about it, I definitely say it's still worth it. It's one of the best ways to actually hop into real estate. I guess not, probably a little biased just because that's the way I got into the game. But that's what I think. Other than that, man, I'm going to cut this off right now. And if you got any, I'd love to hear everybody's thoughts in the comments of, is it dead? Do you think it's dead? Do you think it's oversaturated? Do you think, whatever the case may be, drop a comment down below. And if you like this sort of content, check out my other content. I talk about market trends, real estate market trends, and what's going on in the real estate market. Peace.